Hello, good afternoon, colleagues. Përshëndetje. Welcome to the press conference after Stabilisation and Association Council between the European Union and Albania. You will be briefed by High Representative Josep Borrell, Prime Minister Edi Rama, and Commissioner for Enlargement and Neighbourhood Oliver Varhelyi. We have also, I understand, some journalists joining us from Albania. So I will explain you briefly how it goes after the opening statements. You will be given the floor to ask questions. Make sure that you raise hand virtually by the functionality on your computer or on your screen. Based on the list of people I see with raised hands, then I will give you the floor to ask the question. Make sure that in your identification there is clearly stated your full name and not nicknames. But first of all, I would like to ask the High Representative for his opening statements. High Representative, you have the floor.
Prime Minister, Commissioner, I am very happy to welcome the Prime Minister Rama here in Brussels to the 11th Stabilisation and Association Council with Albania that we have just held. Before going into details about this council, let me stress the following important messages. First, Albania is a key partner of the European Union, reliable security partner, and in many respects, a role model in the region. Albania is now consistently 100% aligned with our European Union foreign policy decisions. On doing so, it sends a strong signal of your commitment to the European Union accession and serves as a positive example for the region, because we cannot say the same thing of all countries in the region. On the other hand, the European Union is Albania's stronger partner, and we will continue accompanying you on your European path. We are providing unprecedented support in tackling the consequences of the earthquake, the coronavirus pandemic, or on green recovery. And today's Council was an opportunity to take stock of our relations and the implementation of necessary reforms. Talking about reforms, we commended Albania for its determination to advance with the reform agenda and for the results achieved so far, in particular in the area of the rule of law. And we want to encourage Albania to continue with this. Reforms are important in your European efforts, but even more important, they are key for the modernization of the country and for the benefit of your people. We are in the context of upcoming parliamentarian elections, and in this context we stress the need for all to ensure that candidate lists are comprised of people with integrity. This is key to demonstrate the country's commitment to fight corruption, and fight against corruption is one of the key criteria in the accession process and essential for every functioning democracy. Regarding about elections, we have also a message to all political leaders and parties in Albania. European integration is it should be a shared national objective, which requires the commitment of all sides to constructive political dialogue. Excessive polarization is not a sign of democratic maturity. It does not serve the country because it hinders the progress and is definitely not in the interest of citizens. Finally, we are looking forward to holding the first Intergovernmental Conference as soon as possible after the approval of the negotiating framework and in line with the conditions for holding the first IGC as set out in the conclusions on the Council conclusions of March 2020, already 1 year ago. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, High Representative. And now the Prime Minister of Albania, Mr. Rama.
Thank you very much, Mr. Borrell, Mr. Borrell, everyone else here that provided for us such a gracious welcome in such strange times. And let me first and foremost tell you that we appreciate very much the efforts made by the Commissioner to be on our side in this very, very tricky moment when we, Albania and the other countries in the region, were left aside in the distribution of vaccines. It was a shocking moment for our people because, as you know, as everyone knows, we don't live in the borders of the European Union, we live within the European Union body. We are surrounded in our region by European Union borders, and having our elderly people, having our sick people, having our people in general feel that vaccine was not something that they deserved to have in the same time with others was too bad. But I know, we all know that how it went. Today there are 140 countries that haven't started any injection. Today there are 10 countries that own 70% of the production. So it's tough, not only for us, but also for many EU members. And we very much hope that this situation will deblock. I am happy to hear from you and to announce here with you that COVAX is starting to finally give to the countries the first doses, and we will be very happy to receive the first delivery of AstraZeneca vaccine, while we are working very hard to increase the capacities, and although it was not our best choice, we are looking beyond the already desirable sources of vaccine. Secondly, I'm very happy to hear directly from you here what we have heard in different circumstances, but again, being underlined from you that Albania has done everything that had to do to have this Intergovernmental Conference starting. I know how it goes, we know how it goes, it may happen, it may not happen, but the most important thing for us is that we have done our job, and we are always very much attentive to listen to the Commission, because in my view the Commission is the top-notch mechanism of assessing factually the progress of a country. And last but not least, I very much believe that the Balkan investment plan launched by Commissioner Borrell last year and being now put in motion is an incredibly helpful tool to strengthen our economies, to strengthen our cooperation, to make our future safer and better in the meantime that we struggle to make progress in the integration process. As I said to you previously, I repeat here, we don't do these reforms because you ask us to do it, because others ask us to do it. For us, these reforms are what we owe to our children, what we owe to our next generations, and in that way, I would say that the European Union is a blessing for our people and for our people's future. It may feel like a curse in the actual circumstances, but in fact it's not a curse. It's a pain that we have to deal with in the name of the future. There is nothing in our future that can compare, that can compete with the European Union. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now Commissioner Várhelyi, please.
Thank you very much. Well, I only want to compliment what you have heard already. And I would like to also draw your attention to the fact that Albania is the country that not only has to suffer and had to suffer the pandemia, but it was faced with an earthquake right before the pandemia hit. So the challenges are exceptional in Albania, maybe even higher than anywhere else in the region. And still, today, we have been able to see that Albania is delivering on its promises and delivering on the criteria to be able to start the first Intergovernmental Conference. And this is something which is very important and should give a very clear sign to everybody that Albania is not only able to, but actually is delivering on the ground, be it the rule of law reform or other areas. And of course, in our discussion, the justice reform and the rule of law were the key issues. And there I can already echo our common assessment, which is that with the vetting process going ahead very strongly, with the appointments of the judges at the High Court, with the appointment of the judges at the Constitutional Court, we are there. So on our side, the assessment we are giving to our member states is that everything is met for the first IGC. Now, of course, the other big issue that we have been discussing was the COVID crisis. And in the COVID crisis, as you have seen in the first wave, we have already mobilized significant support to the Western Balkans, in it to Albania. And we have also mobilized a very important program, and I'm very happy to hear that the Prime Minister is considering it to be an important element, not only for the long-term, mid-term development of the country, but also I consider it to be our contribution to the post-COVID economic recovery. Because we need to design the economic recovery together, and Europe wants to be part of the economic recovery of the Western Balkans and Albania. And I think this is a very strong message everybody should understand. Now, of course, nowadays everything is about vaccines. It's not about the masks anymore, it's not about the ventilators anymore, it's not about the financial support, but the availability of vaccines. As you have seen, our member states are also struggling to get the sufficient vaccines for their citizens and their people. And we're not forgetting about the Western Balkans or other neighboring countries. We're working very hard, night and day, I would say, to get the vaccines to these regions. For us, it is a priority. And we are working not only ourselves, but also through the COVAX initiative and through other initiatives as well. And I'm also very happy to tell you that there will be a first delivery through the COVAX initiative already this month from AstraZeneca to Albania. And we are working also for the other countries, not only through COVAX, but through our own initiative and our own solution as European Commission to bring the help quickly to the people, because we care. Now, finally, of course, we took stock of the implementation of the Association and Stabilisation Agreement, and their progress is very visible and touchable. And I'm very happy to see how we implement this agreement brings us closer to each other in the economy, but also in our societies. And one last word about the elections. We know that Albania is facing elections, so we have also touched a bit on this issue, where we expressed our hope that the elections will go free and fair, and we will have the first big proof of the functioning of the Albanian democracy, and that after the elections we can very quickly continue working. And something I would want to underline, we encouraged also the Albanian authorities not to stop working during the campaign or for the campaign, because the delivery on the ground has been the crucial point through which we have managed to convince our member states to support opening the accession negotiations for Albania. So the track record should be enriched, and we encouraged the Albanian authorities to even press harder, no matter that there are elections coming up.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner. Now we can go to the questions. So first was Erisa Zikai, ABC News. Erisa, wait a few seconds until your mic is open now, so you can go ahead.
Much, Peter. ABC News, I have to the High Representative Borrell and the Commissioner Varhey. High Representative, you raised the issue of the forthcoming elections. You know that according to the OCE report, several irregularities have been registered in the previous elections, such as pressure and on the voters, the use of public administration and the vote buying. You know that prosecution of vote buying is the precondition of the Council decision of last year for Albania, and also reflected in the recent amendments of the AFET committee in the European Parliament, referring to the fact that there is those alleged cases have not reached courts, and no arrests have yet been made. Do you share this concern of the European Parliament and the member states on vote buying, and have you heard any guarantees from the Albanian government today that those irregularities will not be repeated again in the general elections of the 25th of April? Thank you. And for Commissioner Varhey, we understand your optimism because the Commission is really the institution that pushes forward the European integration of Albania when you say that everything has been made for the first IGC. But are you sure that member states will support you in saying that the anti-corruption and anti-organized crime bodies are only being initially operating right now because they want clear signs of prosecution and convictions of high-level cases of corruption and high-level cases of organized crime? So do you think it's enough just for those bodies to have been operational right now and not to have concrete signals, as you said at the end, track record? And the second question that I have for you, do you consider the Constitutional Court and the High Court fully functioning or partially functioning, as is considered by some member states and some MEPs in the European Parliament? Thank you.
Well, we'll have to share it. We'll have to share the answer. Well, with respect to the elections, we understand that the practical preparations for the forthcoming elections are well underway. We have encouraged the Prime Minister to further follow up on all the aspects covered by the OC and OD recommendation, as well as the Venice Commission. And about the specific issue of the vote buying that you made reference, let me just say that the last report of the Commission on Albania highlighted the importance of a swift and transparent investigation of allege electoral violations. Allege. And also the March 2020 Council, on their conclusions, they underline that the initiation of proceedings against those accused of vote buying is one of the issues that will have to be reflected in the negotiation framework for the accession negotiations with Albania. This is the formal position of the Council and the Commission.
Okay.
If I may, well, then let's share the answer. Yes. In addition to what the High Representative said, what I can tell you is that we are approaching an election which was prepared, I think, in a very thorough way. First of all, we had an agreement between the parliamentary parties, all of them, and the parties outside the parliament on an electoral reform. This is already a new element compared to the previous elections. And this brings also guarantees when it comes to vote buying or other irregularities in the voting process. Second, that reform was in full compliance with the OD recommendations, in which this has been a major issue. So we think that legislative-wise, this is addressed. This was followed then by a Venice Commission opinion, which the government and all the parliamentary parties and the opposition agreed to implement fully. This is another layer of guarantees to avoid these irregularities. And the third layer of guarantee, to my mind, is the participation of observers in the elections. I understand that observers have been invited. Unfortunately, because of the COVID, this is not an easy task to actually implement. But we, on our side, we will help so that the observers can get there, be there, and perform these tasks. So with these elements, I think that sufficient guarantees are in the system. Of course, it will be, as it is the very question you put about vote buying, it will be on the ground that we will see whether this takes place and what measures will be taken. We, on our side, of course, would want full vigor of the law to be imposed, and we want to see that there will be all efforts made on the side of the authorities organizing the elections against any vote buying. Now, on your question, when it comes to high-level corruption cases and the corruption agencies, I'm very happy to tell you that this is again something we've been discussing, where Albania is making steady progress. And it was on the basis of that we have been able to convince the member states already in March to vote for opening accession negotiations for Albania. It goes without saying that now we need to see appointments, now we need to see these bodies functioning and carrying out the tasks for which they are responsible. And when I pointed to the need to continue to build the track record, this is what I had in mind, of course. It's not only this area, but also the vetting of the judges should continue, and everything else that is related to fighting organized crime, corruption, drug trafficking, you name it. This was the approach of this Commission, that we have to make progress on the ground. Not so much in closed rooms, but on the ground, and we will insist on this. Your question on the High Court and the Constitutional Court, whether they are fully functioning. We consider the Constitutional Court to be fully functioning. It has the necessary number of judges to hold all hearings and to make all decisions it is capable of delivering on the law. While we are still missing 2 judges from the High Court, and I understand that their appointment is also on its way. And I do hope that still before elections we will see these two appointments actually being made, and that would complete all the conditions that we have put to Albania for the first IGC.
I may add something with your permission, because it's quite impressive to hear in my language such an incredible statement like nobody has been investigated, nothing has happened regarding the alleged case of vote buying, while there are 20 people indicted by the prosecutor and now, as we speak, in due process. 20 people involved in alleged vote buying from all the parties, by the way. So it's impressive to see this lazy activism express itself in this very high temple of the European Union, but it is what it is.
Okay, thank you. We take another question. Tanya Milevska, Macedonian Information Agency. Tanya, go ahead. Your microphone is open.
Hi everybody. Thank you, Peter. Tanya Milevska from the Macedonian News Agency. My first question actually is about why was the Stabilisation and Association Council with North Macedonia postponed? It was supposed to take place in February. So is this due to the lack of progress between Bulgaria and North Macedonia? I would like a precise answer for this postponement. And I would like to know if you have discussed in any shape or form the possibility for Albania to start the first IGC before North Macedonia, which was the other way around until a few months ago. And I would also like to have the Prime Minister Rama's opinion on that. What if Albania starts the IGC before North Macedonia? What's your position on that? Thank you.
It's for you the most important question.
Yes.
My opinion is not so important.
Well, your point of view is for sure very much important. Well, there is not yet a date for the Intergovernmental Conference. We have been discussing about it and express our wish that this conference could take place as soon as possible. But by the time being, there is not a fixed date, because in spite the fact that Albania has been doing a lot of progress, some member states consider that it is still needed to advance more before calling for this conference. But I am confident that it will take place soon, as soon as possible.
So, to answer your question, first of all, I want to go back to what I said in the beginning. Being Albania, being North Macedonia, being whomever else in our region, we have only one thing to do: to keep going. To keep going and to make possible in every step that change happen in our country, that institutions get built, get stronger, that the state function in the European way, and that our citizen can live in our countries by EU standards. This is at the end what we seek and what we should deliver. Then, how and when what we do will materialize in officially confirmed steps, like Intergovernmental Conference, like second Intergovernmental Conference, like third, like collective therapy in group between us and these guys here, like whatever. This is not really up to us. This is not up to us. We have to understand it. We live in a different time, not the best for us. when they were in the best time, we were really the worst guys to deal with. Now we are in a good shape, I would say, but they are not in their best times. So we have to understand. And when it comes to North Macedonia and Albania, possible decoupling, on the contrary, I hope this will not happen, and I hope we'll keep going together also in this path. But I was terrified from the first second that I realized that an identity discussion started between Bulgaria and North Macedonia. It's the worst discussion possible to have while we need the consensus from all the members of the Union to get in the next step. Because it's emotional, because it's complicated, because. But I hope only one thing, that the wise leaders, and they are wise leaders of North Macedonia and Bulgaria, will sort it out themselves. I hope that our North Macedonian brothers will not wait for some magic coming from Berlin or Washington or London or wherever, because it will not come. And they should simply find a way to agree with the Bulgarian friends about what the past not really was, but what the past has to be dealt with from whom. The past cannot be dealt from politicians and politics. If we put the past in politics, we are doomed to be slaves of the past. Let the historians, let the academies, let the civil society, let others do it. If politics will be involved, I'm afraid that this will be another process that will, God forbid, chain North Macedonia for another, I don't know how long time. Anyhow, we are happy to be with you, and we will bear with you. And if we'll be told, wait, guys, you have done good, but let's wait for your neighbors. No problem. No problem. Bear with you.
On the first IGC, we have been repeating this all the time. This is a merit-based process. So whoever meets the conditions will have to have the first Intergovernmental Conference. And as I told you, today we have been discussing the case of Albania, and we have found that the conditions are met. And therefore we will make the necessary proposal and contacts with the member states to agree to organize the first IGC as soon as we can with Albania. Now, on why the Association Council was postponed, you may recall that the Association Council with Albania was not supposed to take place today, but was supposed to take place in November. So it was already postponed once. With North Macedonia, we're looking for a date, but during these COVID times, you may anticipate some hiccups when it comes to putting together meetings with in-person participation. So there is nothing spooky about this. This is how we are living during the COVID.
Thank you very much. And one last question, Ansgar Hase, Deutsche Presseagentur.
Hi, Ansgar Hase from the German press agency dpa. I have a quick question on the issue of defense to the Prime Minister and to the High Rep. Prime Minister, I would like to know if Albania is also interested in participating in the EU defense cooperation, and if you can imagine to submit a request to participate in one of the PESCO projects in the near future. And to the High Rep, I would like to know if you can confirm that the United States have submitted a request to participate in one of the PESCO projects, and if so, if you can tell us a little bit more about it. Thank you.
Sir, first of all, you should know that by definition, we participate in everything EU wants us to participate, and we don't question it. It may look weird from your perspective, or whomever does not really understand or cannot understand factually our history and our way we have come till here. But we were talking with the High Representative and the Commissioner before. We are a country that has never, ever, in any circumstance, wavered from the EU foreign policy line. 100% in compliance is a unique loyalty, I would say. And and by the way, I have news for you. We already are in this European Defence Initiative. We already are. It's not that we want to. We are there. We are in. So maybe we were used to be like that, always loyal to every empire, and the last to let the empire down in our history.
Thank you, Prime Minister.
About the US participation in PESCO, you know that recently we have finally reached an agreement in order to make possible the participation of third countries in PESCO. And if the US want to participate in the PESCO project, so I think it's good. It's a good idea. It's a good news. But if you want to confirm something that the Americans has decided, the best thing to do is to ask to them.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, colleagues. Thank you, High Representative, Prime Minister, Commissioner, colleagues. Thank you very much. Have a nice afternoon.